It's one of those days today. It's one of those days where things that are irritating me all seem to be coming back to Land Rover. Now, I haven't given you an update on this, mainly because there hasn't really been anything discernible to tell you. And that in itself is an update, that we are now on July the 9th, 10th, don't even know what day it is, and I have still not got any resolution on my car that went into Marshalls Land Rover Peterborough on January the 9th and had an incident. And we've been arguing backwards and forwards about how to resolve that incident since January the 9th. So here we are in July and the replacement car is back in the garage. Hopefully we're going to find out why it keeps going into restricted performance. Thank you to everyone who has sent all of your ideas. All have gone to the garage with the car. So let's see what happens and what the outcome of that is. But rewinding, January 9, I'm in a school car park. The car that I was driving at that point, which was the Land Rover Discovery Sport, steering failed going round a corner. Missed a child by that much. Managed to obviously sort car out, pushed it into a parking space, waited for it to be towed. It was towed as requested by the warranty company to Land Rover Marshalls. Worst day ever. It went into Land Rover Marshalls. It wasn't looked at for I don't know how long. When it was looked at, the words I get told are, it's fallen off the rollers. So many of you have asked what that means. I don't know, is the long and the short of it. We know that there was a lot of damage done to the driver's side and we know that that was coming back. Many of you have given your reasons as to what you think might have happened. I don't disagree with any of them, to be totally honest, but we'll never know because apparently there was no CCTV. Now, whether there was or whether there wasn't, we don't know. Even though I asked for it in a Freedom of Information request, that part was ignored, as were so many other parts. So we didn't have an incident report. Is it unreasonable to ask for an incident report as to what's happened to your car? That's a genuine question. Am I unreasonable in asking for a chronological series of events as to what happened to my car? Because I've asked for it over and over and over through Freedom of Information, through Jaguar Land Rover Client Care, through Marshalls themselves, and I've never had that report. So I don't know what happened to my car. All I know is what I saw and then what I drove. So when I was given the car back allegedly fixed and drove it, it was clear that it wasn't fixed. A meeting ensued with the then general manager, who is no longer there. And this is a really important thing to note. In Marshalls Peterborough, none of the people that I were dealing with are there anymore. So they've all systematically gone at some point. So there's been a massive overhaul of Marshalls Peterborough and no one that dealt with me is there. So the person that I dealt with that said it had developed a electrical fault whilst it was in there, which would explain why the heated seat didn't work, the wing mirror didn't work, the window didn't work, that won't explain why it sounded like a tractor and drove like a tractor. That is clearly still something to do with the steering. But that would explain that. It was then put on me to prove that that wasn't there in the first place. So their lawyers then said, well, you need to prove that it wasn't there. And I'm like, but your own team said it had developed it. And when it came in to Marshalls and had all the checks done, they weren't there. So either you didn't do the checks that you said you did, or you did the checks and it wasn't there. And in which case, if it wasn't there, and I haven't had it, apart from when I picked it up when you told me it was fixed, and we have clearly ascertained since then as well that it wasn't test driven. I had it, drove it less than 3 miles and bought it back. Did it develop then? Is that what happened? No, of course it's not. But the onus is on me, apparently, to prove that it wasn't there in the first place. That's the way they're going about this. So Marshalls Land Rover Peterborough are effectively, instead of doing the right thing, which is saying, yep, we messed up here, let's sort it out, they're doing the wrong thing, because they're saying you can prove that it didn't have, or that these things weren't there when it came in. Now, lots of you have asked, why didn't I accept the settlement that they offered me when I said I rejected the car and I was giving it back? Well, it's really easy. It was under market value. So I knew how much that car was worth when it went in January, because we were just about to sell it. So I'm well aware of exactly how much it was worth. When they did their valuation, they used Cap Clean, and then it's all based on We Buy Any Car, Constellation, Car Wow, Cinch. Well, who owns all of them? Constellation. who owns or has massive stakes in, because somebody said they don't own Marshalls Peterborough anymore, but then lots of other people have said that they do. But either way, it's all coming from the same people working together. So of course, what they offered me was way under market price. And we're talking this time last year. So the car had been in since January, sitting because they hadn't got the parts, they hadn't fixed it, and then it had gone through its incident. So on their watch, it had depreciated. I was told when I pointed this out to them that, well, cars do depreciate. And I'm like, yeah, no, I understand that. And if it's depreciating on my drive while I'm using it, then I accept that. I don't accept that when it's depreciating in your garage when I'm not using it. And the reason it is in your garage is because A, you don't have the parts to fix the bit that was the problem in the first place, which was the steering rack recall, only it wasn't a recall because they hadn't got to my number on the VIN, despite the fact that it had exactly the same issues as the steering rack recall, and then it suffered its incident. So we're doing a lot of backwards and forwards, and in the ensuing time, the 18 months, part of it is driving me demented, because part of it is making me think, am I imagining this? And I cannot move forwards from the facts. I cannot move forwards from the indisputable facts, which were, it went into Marshalls with steering rack failure, which is a known fault. It then suffered an incident, and what ensued was a catalogue of disasters, of customer service, of engineering, of mechanical engineering, and of litigation. So we got to the point where I said, no, I'm not having this. I'm really sorry. I was told by several legal experts, and again, if you're a legal expert listening to this, I would welcome your opinion as well. So I was told, absolutely, you could go forwards with this, you could take this, you could sue them, but you will find it very difficult to get someone that will take you where the compensation is less than the value of the car. And it's like, okay, I get it. So effectively, the lawyers weren't going to earn enough money for me, and what it was going to cost me to go through the courts would probably be the same as what the car cost. So was it worth it? So we went with the Ombudsman. Now the Ombudsman are still sitting on it. So it was raised with the Ombudsman, I think in April last year. And here we are, exactly 18 months later, and the Ombudsman, it's with their adjudicator. Marshalls, obviously they don't care about it because all of the people that worked there when it was happening, they aren't there anymore. It's off their books. They're, doing their new stuff. They simply don't care. It's not bothering them. It's in their compound. They check it every once in a while to make sure it hasn't got bird poo on it and if the battery still works. But it's of no consequence to them. I am of no consequence to them. I am just somebody who will just rumble. They have no intention of putting this right. Absolutely none. So I go like a swinging pendulum from, surely the Ombudsman will see all of this. They've got all of the information from my side. I don't know what they've got from Marshall's side because the Ombudsman gave them a deadline and they didn't meet that deadline. So who knows what's going to happen. Then do you remember we had the random email from Client Care, Land Rover Client Care, which they still haven't contacted me again. So I say, well, why have I got this random email from you telling me that there's a legal case? I get through to a nice lady on the phone who says, oh yes, the person that sent that does work here. I'll get her to call you back. I think it's a freedom of information request. Well, the nice person hasn't called me back. Nobody has called me back. So I don't know, even though I've emailed them, I don't know what that was about. So I've got no further with Client Care, Jaguar Land Rover. I have got no further with Marshalls, and I have got no further with the Ombudsman. But what I am getting further on with is my life, which is being hampered almost every week by the replacement car. Now, yes, so many of you have taken great joy in telling me that I was a complete idiot to buy another Land Rover. I don't disagree with you. Right now, I think I'm the biggest idiot in the world for doing that. I think it was the most stupid thing I've done in my life. And I've done some fairly questionable things in my youth. But why I bought that Land Rover was on the advice of people who said, if you get the 2016 Disco 4, it's got the best engine. If you make sure you maintain it, if you service it, you look after the oil, you look after it well, you change the cam belt, you basically nurture it, it will do you well and it will do what it's supposed to do, which for us is tow. So that's why we went with it. It was the right shape. It was, and joking aside, the big square back makes it good with my 4 dogs. So it was the right shape. It fit all the kit in it. It did everything we wanted. It didn't have the whistles and bells, but you know what? I don't need the whistles and bells, but it did have heated seats because I do have a bad back. So that it was going really well. We bought that this time last year, and then we replaced the cam belt at 80,000 like we were advised to, and from then on in, the turbos have gone. It keeps going into restricted performance. I mean, this car is just one big problem after another. Now, can you blame all of that on Land Rover? No, not really, you can't. But equally, if you're making cars and designing cars that have known issues with them, or you know things are going to happen with them, and you know the engine will fail and the DPF will do this and the turbos will do that. And of course, I know why they're doing it, because the parts are more expensive, and that's where they make their money these days. They make their money from parts, they don't make their money from cars. But meanwhile, I am putting my life regularly on pause or hold as I borrow other people's cars to facilitate our needs, because I can't afford a third one. I couldn't afford the second one. So the car is today back in the garage with all of your brilliant ideas. So hopefully we will find out why it's going into restricted performance. And everyone keeps saying to me, sell it, get another one, sell it, get another one. Okay, yeah, can do. But would need to make back more or less what I paid for it, and ignore the fact that we've done about £8,000 in maintaining it, fixing it, getting all the bits that were wrong right. It depletes the budget for what I can spend on the next one. So I'm going to get lots less for this one. And then what do I get for the next one? What I need is resolution from the Ombudsman and Marshalls Land Rover, but it's nowhere to be seen. And my question is, how long is a person supposed to hold their life on hold? How long are we supposed to live in this financial insecurity where we don't know what we're doing? How long am I supposed to say this is okay? How long do I keep going? But I can't do anything whilst it's still with the Ombudsman. And then do I call my insurers when it's out of the Ombudsman and just say, look, I mean, surely this is a write-off. I paid for gap insurance, but that will run out in October. So what do I do? And I can absolutely see us going to October with this, but what would my insurers say? Because I think this is a category N, the car in Marshalls. I think it's absolutely a category N, if not a category S. I think it's a write-off, but I don't have it. I can't get to it. I haven't got any of the documentation that the insurance company will want because Marshalls never gave it to me. So I've got a lame duck on my hands. So when people ask me what the update is on Land Rover, the update is that it's driving me slowly demented. But I will not give up. I cannot give up. I can't afford to give up anymore. I cannot afford the car that's in the garage to be our main car. We simply cannot keep throwing more and more and more money into that. It's an absolute waste of time. We need resolution from Marshalls so that we can move forwards as though this never, ever happened. But will we get it? Well, we're waiting for the Ombudsman. So if you're watching this and you know any of the people who are involved in this sorry mess, please do share this with them. Please do get them to watch it. And if they would like any more information, I am happy to give it. But I mean, I'm almost that close to saying, what have we got bets on how long this is going to take? You know, do we think we're going to get to October? When's this going to end? How long is a piece of string? Nobody knows. What I would say is, yes, I will never, ever, ever buy another Land Rover again. No. I'd love a Land Cruiser or a Hilux, but I don't have the money to buy it because I've still got to fund the stupid car that's in the garage. And is it affecting our family very negatively? 100%.